Nothing worthwhile comes easy. Every vineyard has a story out here.
You don't get 50 award-winning wineries without passion, imagination, and hard work.
Texas Hill Country is Texas wine country. It's creative, dynamic, welcoming, and fun.
We're not the old guard.
But we're not exactly the new kids on the block either.
It's a short drive for endless opportunities.
Bring the girls.
We're the boys.
The whole family or just the two of them?
There's never a dull moment.
And you might learn a thing or two.
Don't forget to stock up.
And whenever you're ready to come back, we're just down the road.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Texas Hill Country Wineries.
More and more, we're seeing people that are coming here specifically for wine, which is pretty exciting for our region, for our industry.
Every region in Texas does something different. Other wine regions have had 1,000 years to figure out what grows well there, and we're trying to do it in a generation or two.
The style of wines that we're able to make here, kind of perfect for Texas.
We have soils here that people in other parts of the world would die for.
It's always been an area where you can grow all kinds of different crops.
All of these wineries have a really good mix of whites, rosés, reds.
We have found great success with Italian varieties.
Sangiovese, some Montepulciano Italian varietals, Viognier, Tempranillo, Mourvèdre, Grenache, Aglianico, Negro Amaro, things that like a lot of sun. And you get a lot of what I think of as soul in the wine.
When people use proper winemaking techniques, there's literally no limit to what we can do here.
People just do a lot of driving here.
We've got the beautiful streams, the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, the hills, and the vistas.
People don't have to worry about having a good time in this part of the hill country.
When you're visiting, you're away from the city.
The summer is a great time to come out and visit wineries. We are making wine this time of year, which is always exciting and fun to see.
For the wine tourists and the agri-tourists, we have outstanding places to visit and for people to enjoy.
As the weather cools down, it's wonderful to spend a whole afternoon out and watch a sunset, and it's a place to find respite.
We have beautiful weather, almost year-round.
We've got lots of great hiking paths. We're also home to a bunch of national and state parks, lots of beautiful wildflowers that are native to the area.
If you're coming out to the hill country to have a great wine experience, definitely plan your trip. Really map it out and try something new that you haven't done in the area.
This truly is arm-in-arm winemaking. It's just a little slice of heaven over here.
We invite you to come see and taste all that the Texas Hill Country has to offer. With over 50 different winery experiences and a world of wines for every palate. Experience and taste the wine in your backyard. Texas Hill Country is Texas wine country.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for Hill Country Happy Hour tonight. I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us live right now, and thank you to everyone who saved this or came back and is watching it later on. Texas Hill Country Winery started hosting these live happy hour events in April when all of the winery tasting rooms were closed during the shutdown, and it's been a great way for all of us to connect with Texas wine lovers and to share information and just see each other face to face. Over the last 6 months, we've hosted a number of these happy hours with a different group of Texas Hill Country member wineries talking about a variety of topics. And this month, we are celebrating Texas Wine Month. And what better stories to tell than that of the families growing, making, and bringing you some of the best that the Texas wine country has to offer. There are many ways that you can still celebrate Texas Wine Month. We still have a week and a half left. We've got our Texas Wine Month Passport event, which is going on now. We've got lots of wineries participating in that, and tickets are still on sale. You can visit any of our local wineries and enjoy a glass on site or take a bottle home. You can pick up a bottle of wine at your local grocery store or wine shop. And a lot of our wineries have some great events going on right now as well. So we encourage you to head to our website, texaswinetrail.com, and go to our events page where all of those events are listed. But for tonight, we are continuing our celebrations with Texas Wine Month and celebrating some of the families of Texas wine together virtually. And so I just want to jump right in with our moderator, David Kuhlken of Pedernales Cellars. He's also the Texas Hill Country Winery's president, and he's going to introduce our panel tonight. But before we do that, I just want to remind everyone, please feel free to ask questions in the comments here on Facebook, and we're going to relay everything to the group. So go ahead and take it away, David.
Thanks, Lindsay. No, like I said, I'm really excited to get to do this one. We started doing these online happy hours months ago, I think when everything started to shut down, and now we kind of realize it's a great way to get out, just have some conversations about what we do and introduce folks out there with all the different members and all the stories. I mean, this is a fun one to do because there's a lot of family-run businesses in the Hill Country, and tonight you get a chance to kind of get an introduction and get a story from all the different families in this group about how they got into this business and how you run a family business, and particularly a wine business. So I'm excited tonight because we've got Steve Baxter and Weston McCoury over from Fiesta with us, and I keep seeing some other family members popping in, so maybe we'll get some others in there. And then we got Susan Johnson from Texas Heritage Vineyards, and then we got Doug Lewis from Lewis Wines, and then myself, David Kuhlken from Pedernales Cellars. Like with most of these things, I kind of like to just kick it off by letting the folks themselves, though, do some real introductions. And the first thing I'll ask each of y'all to do is just kind of give an introduction to how y'all got into this business, like how your family has found itself running a winery in the Texas Hill Country. So start with you, Steve and Weston.
Well, I started growing grapes first, had no intention of making wine. The kids talked into it, that if we're going to grow grapes, we need to make wine, which I told them, if I'm going to do it, you're going to have to be part of it, because I don't want any part of that. Didn't know anything about making wine. But that was 10 years ago this month. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary last weekend. But from then on, it's just been a whirlwind. It's been a wild ride, a good one. Meet a lot of great people. And before I go any further, I'd like to thank you guys and the board for a great job y'all are doing for leading the Hill Country wineries and being part of that, because it takes a lot of time. I know I've been part of it once, and you got to be pretty dedicated to do all that, and I thank y'all for doing that. But,
thanks.
Lindsay and January do a great job.
Who all like is involved in the business with y'all's family? Like what different roles do people play?
I started pretty much by myself, and then my daughter came along and started helping, and then the son came along, and then a year later or so, Weston came into the family and stepped in and started. None of us knew anything, knew what we were doing. I went to some classes. Savannah and I, my daughter, went to some classes, and we were sitting in a chemistry class online, and I leaned over and told her, I said, it's been, 30 years ago I was in chemistry and I didn't do good at it then. I'm sure not now. So let's go home and make some wine. So we walked out of that and came home and just started making wine and figuring it out on our own. And from there on, I made it myself for a good long while, and then handed it over to Weston and the younger guys who can remember and know what to do. Learn things. I'm too old to learn some things. So, but it's been an interesting journey, and it's been fun going through that role. But at any rate, it's just when we started, it just took off and exploded, and from then on, we just been hard time keeping up, really.
So you guys, like, what the tasting room? You said 10 years ago you guys got started. Is that when you planted grapes? Because you guys have had that tasting room open like most of that time, right?
We opened the tasting room first and was buying fruit and anything we could find to actually make wine out of, and then planted grapes at the same time. So we were 3 or 4 years before we actually got a crop of our own that we grew personally.
Yeah, the vineyard here was planted in April of 2010 on Easter, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It was opened in October of 2010.
And how many acres y'all have now?
10 acres of vineyard here.
Perfect. Cool.
Yes, sir. So I play the role of the winemaker and kind of general manage production. Savannah does all of our social media. She manages all the tasting room managers, does all of our label design, handles TBC, TTB, manages the main office here. Shane managed and ran wholesale for years, and now he's actually managing and overseeing our new project in Fredericksburg that's going on right now.
Oh, cool. So Susan, why don't you give a little background on Texas Heritage?
Well, kind of like everyone else, we're surprised to find ourselves at this point in our lives. Billy and I, my husband and I both, for a large insurance company. He still works for them 41 years as an agent, and I worked for them 31 years. And I retired in 2013, and we were already living in Fredericksburg, and I knew I liked to drink wine. And he asked me what I was going to do with myself now that I was retired. And I really had not had time to think about it because we have 4 children and grandchildren, and I kind of had a busy job. And so he suggested that I sign up for the viticulture course at Texas Tech. And after a little prodding, I did that. And you know what happens. You are around people who have the bug for growing and planting and making and selling wine. And so we got bitten by that bug and ended up ordering some grapevines, pretty much like everybody else. We thought we'd just have a little vineyard and see how that would go. And that was in 2013. I signed up for viticulture. We ordered vines. They came in 2015. And so we put in our first acre. And then we made a critical error in judgment. We couldn't decide if we should go all in or not. We had a pretty nice life before. And so we went to Napa to make that decision. And we just might have had a little too much wine and just called Napa Vine and ordered a bunch more vines. And there were in it. And it's been a ride. It's been fun. I've learned so much. I hated chemistry and biology in college, physics, to not have to do chemistry and biology. And now that's kind of what I do. It's been fun. I've learned a lot, met a lot of great people.
Susan, it's funny to hear you talk about that because it's like I think everybody probably has that like point of no return part in their story where it's like they got to a point where like it wasn't gonna be pretty if you tried to turn around at that point. So yeah, sounds like yours happened right around that Napa trip. So
it happened that it was we're used to Texas time, and I think it was about 5 o'clock Texas time, and it was still 3 o'clock in California, so the Nova Vine was still open. So order another 4,000 vines, and so there you are.
There you are, yeah. Well, cool. Well, Doug, let's hear your story because I know my portions of it that I've seen over the years. But yeah, tell the world how did Doug Lewis get himself into this and the Lewis family?
Well, that's the short version. Is Doug Lewis got the Lewis family into this for sure. My dad's a farmer, among other things, a rancher, and I've always had a fondness for agriculture, working outside, doing stuff with my hands. And I like drinking too. I like drinking more than cutting hay and stacking hay and hauling hay. And so it was pretty, it's just a natural. I spent a summer in Europe and saw vineyards all over southern France and central Italy, and the landscape reminded me of home a lot. And I thought maybe there was potential for it, and had a roommate at the time pouring wine for Llama Story and grocery stores around Austin, and had a couple of decent bottles of Texas wine, and got interested. And then when I got back from Europe, I got a internship at your winery. and then I was 2 or 3 vintages in, made a little wine on the side, and was considering selling that to another winery. And my family threw the idea out there that maybe we should just sell it ourselves. And as you know, from there, the straws start breaking one by one really fast till you're in the business.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you're understating because as my memory goes, I think you were making wine by the first vintage because you were starting to already do some experimentation at least at that point. So
it was the second one. My first one.
Was it? Yeah.
First one was 2009, and I came in like my first day. We went to your vineyard to help finished picking fruit and we were already doing punch downs. So my first day harvest was already started at 19, and then, or 09, geez.
Yeah.
And then 10 was we were into harvest a ways, and then it was like, oh, Frederick talked me into it. He was like, hey, make a barrel or two. And then a barrel or two turned into like 4, and then turned into 8, and then it was like 11 or 12, and you're like, hey, so you need to have a plan.
Well, you seem to have done pretty well. I think you figured that out, right? Because I mean, how many acres now do you guys have?
At our vineyard at the winery is about 8 acres, and then we lease Round Mountain, which is a little over 6.
Okay. Yeah, and then so you guys really have like a pretty strong component that's hill country, right? Like in terms of your mix.
Yeah, and we've been trying to build on that, since day one. I like being involved with the vineyards as much as possible, and the hill country is less of a drive. I mean, don't get me wrong. I spend a lot of time in a car and don't mind going to the high plains. I have a lot of love for the growers and the wines up there, but at the same time, it is nice to drive 15 minutes to a vineyard instead of 5 hours. So. I definitely have doubled down on vineyards around me, and I think as we look for new sources, we'll always work with the high plains, but just because of the logistical challenges and the fact that we're kind of a small winery and make a lot of small lot wines, it seems just logistically kind of more in our favor to work with smaller vineyards in the area.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I'll give like my story, and then we'll kind of circulate around for all of us who are not sitting in their car. We can talk too about what we're drinking right now. Doug, you can at least tell us about a wine that you want to be drinking right now. That would work.
Yeah.
No, I got in this business. I guess the word would be it's like I'm second generation, but that's really just because my parents got involved in the Texas wine industry when they retired from their corporate lives and moved out to the hill country. And we had friends out in Washington State that had been growing for probably about 20 years at that point, and had gotten in my parents' ear about starting a vineyard in Texas, that they ought to see what was going on with the business and, make a run at it. And so they passed around looking for properties, looked in Bandera, ultimately found one though around the Fredericksburg area, and got linked up with the industry back, and this is like 1995. So that was folks like Bell Mountain was one of the Oberhelmans there that helped. About the same time, the Beckers were just getting going with their operation, and a handful of others like Gary Gilstrap and folks like gave them advice, and they planted their first 5 acres. So we planted seeing all Bordeaux's back in the day, back in the mid 90s. And my sister and I both got involved, like in so much as you do. Like I was still an undergrad and she was a graduate student at that point, and we're helping. But we just thought it was our parents' hobby. We didn't really imagine we would ever make a career out of this business. But it did give us an introduction, and it's like that was sort of the early introduction to some of the other folks that were in that early business. And we watched that expand over about 10 years while my parents just sold to other wineries. So they sold to Becker, they sold to Texas Hills, just a handful of the folks out here in the hill country. Until, my sister was coming back from like living in Europe with her husband, Friedrich, and I was coming out of business school and looking to make some change. I wanted to start a business. I'd been doing software, and I really cannot explain why the idea of starting a winery made sense, other than I will say, like, we looked at where the business was. We did like what you guys were talking about, where like Doug was talking about just trying some wines at the time and realizing, honestly, there's some really good wine getting made in Texas, but it wasn't getting a lot of attention or love. And we felt like that the means to do it, the climate, the grapes were out there to do it, but just, it was going to take digging in and actually building a business designed to make those wines. So we made a run at it. I went to UC Davis. My sister helped with a lot of the design, marketing, and label. My brother-in-law, Friedrich, really worked on getting the business set up and running for, being able to sell wine. And by 2000, and I guess we got the tasting room open in 2008. We spent a couple of years actually co-oping like with me working over at Texas Hills, and it's like, you know, in the time of this, we've been doing this business, it's been funny because not only has the industry grown, but it's just funny to watch the family kind of, you know, work around this at different points. Almost got 3 kids. My sister's got 2 daughters. I've had a cousin in this business. I've had almost every family member I can think of at some point has gotten pulled into some project. And mine are getting old enough. My oldest is now 19 that, you know, as they're getting to this age, it's starting to have serious conversations about whether they want to be in the wine business or not. And it's fun. I mean, it's crazy to think that another 10 years down the road, and we're probably looking at another generation, one way or the other, that is in this business. So, I mean, it's, like, again, Texas is a cool place right now because most of the businesses that have started in the last 10 or 15 years have been family businesses. And we're just starting to get to that scale where, you know, there are some bigger operations, but you drive around and you're often meeting the principals in the tasting room, which is still just, yeah, it's a cool feature of this area. So, yeah, with that, I'll jump to real quick what I'm drinking and then kind of jump around and have you guys talk a little bit about it. I picked this. What I'm doing tonight is our Touriga Nacional from the Estate Vineyard. Figured, Doug, you'd like this just because I think this is one of the first things you got made to pick, honestly, when you came out. And so, and obviously you can talk a little about Touriga just because I think you might have more experience than I do with this varietal at this point.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah, you should try this one. This is because we don't do, like, Touriga has typically been a varietal. We planted it thinking we were going to use it for port. We do, but honestly, we discovered that despite the low yields and the hard work that there is to get a Touriga in, it is just a fantastic varietal. We use it mostly in some of the kind of reserve blends, but yeah, every now and then we'll do one of these varietals, and this one's kind of a small block for our wine club, but just incredible dark fruit, leather, licorice, just all kinds of intense notes. This is a 2018, so honestly, little young even to be drinking, but it's enjoyable. So it's something we grow. We mostly get ours from our estate vineyard where we've got a little over 2 acres of Touriga, and we're doing some additional planting this year. But we also have worked with a couple other hill country vineyards. We have a High Plains vineyard that does Touriga because it's, you know, Doug can speak to that a little bit more. It's out there. So, but yeah, anyway, that is my drink for the night. So, how about you guys? Weston, Steve, what are you guys drinking?
We're drinking our 2018 Trip Texan, which was a limited edition for our 10-year anniversary. It's a dedication to Steve's dad as well. He's 89 years old. He's been in agriculture business since he was 4 years old. So for 85 years, he's loved the land, raised cattle, run a cow-calf operation his whole life. It's a blend. It's a Primitivo Tempranillo Mourvèdre Ruby Cab blend. We aged 22 months in French and American oak barrels. So really proud of it. We had this wine out. It was an estate wine back in, it was a 2013 vintage. We haven't released it since then. We released it this year. We wanted to honor him and then thought it would be a great addition for our 10-year anniversary. So
that's beautiful.
We released it for our anniversary party, which was last weekend. So we've actually got, we had him here. He was signing bottles.
Cool. Yeah, that's apropos that
he's been involved in a part of this. So he likes to come by and check in on things and make sure we're doing things right to suit him. So
you don't know anything about wine and don't even drink the stuff. He thinks he does.
But when you're 89, you get to do what you want to do.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I mean, hope I've earned it by then. So
yes, sir. That's what we're drinking tonight.
Cool. How about you, Susan? What are you drinking?
I am drinking tonight our easy drinking red blend. The fanciful name is Troubadour's Edge. We love to have our Texas musicians play at the tasting room, and this wine is dedicated to them. It's Cab Sauv, Alicante Boucher, and Sagrantino, all from the High Plains. It's not a heavy red blend. It's just easy drinking, kind of like listening to some good music. And it was what was open in the tasting room when I left there this afternoon. About principals working in the tasting room. I'm going to be doing that for a while. So It's all good. I love it. I don't know. I was a red wine drinker when all this started, and I kind of have flipped over to white wines a lot, but this one's, I like it a lot. So it's fun blend.
Well, and Susan, it's sort of, I was saying, as you know, their pick was spot on, because we actually had somebody ask a question online where they were wondering if some of the wineries had done like a special wine that was named after a family member, or kind of referencing maybe a family story. Do you guys do that sometimes with any of your products?
We actually do. Our rosé, my great grandmother's name was Elizabeth Rose. And so her nickname was Lizzie, and our rosé is named Lizzie Rosé for her. She unfortunately died at the age of 31. She was from Victoria, Texas, and she died when she was only 31. And, you know, it's turn of the century, Texas. I don't think she really got to drink very much back then. So we kind of drink to my great grandmother Lizzie every day with our Lizzie Rosé. So.
Perfect. That's awesome. Oh, so Doug, again, we caught you in the car, so maybe you don't have a drink, but tell us about a wine from your cellar.
Well, if I was drinking right now, I'd probably be drinking our white wine. It's an Albarino Verdelho blend. We call it Hill Country white wine just because it's from 2 vineyards in the Hill Country. But the wine's pretty bright, very, very refreshing, nice acidity, very aromatic, not too heavy on the palate. And I'm sitting at the Botanical Garden down in San Antonio. I'm about to go do a thing there after this, and it says 89 outside, so I figured white wine would be appropriate. I know it's not that hot up in the Hill Country, but yeah. But still, yeah. Yeah, and you know, with cold weather finally on the way, you know, I'd better drink like acid-driven bright wine. It won't taste good again until the spring. So
yeah, no, it's the time to enjoy it. Or one of the last times, at least for a bit here. So where it really feels like a perfect fit. So cool.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, to that question about like wine labels, we've occasionally have done specialty wine labels that are sort of family ones in the cellar. I think my favorite we did this last year, did a rosé that is like a tribute to my parents, because they met each other working basically as contractors for NASA during the Apollo missions. And so we always like to talk about how they sort of fell in love, as it is, sitting over like putting punch cards into computers at the time, getting ready to prep for the Apollo missions. But we did our rosé in 2019 for the tasting room is the Over the Moon rosé, which is, again, a tribute to that story, because it's kind of the origin story for my parents. And of course, then they're the ones who really, we wouldn't be in this business if it weren't for them. If they hadn't taken a flyer and decided to put 5 acres of grapes in the Hill Country, which again, at the time when I was in college, I thought they were crazy, we wouldn't be doing this. So I'm deeply grateful for them for getting us in there. So, so a question I have for all of y'all, because I think this is just like a part of this evolving when you're in a family business, is how do you guys integrate, like you have family members who are involved in this that are coming and going in parts of the business, but then of course, as you grow, you're sort of building this family with the folks that work with you too, and that are, and sometimes even like the folks that are in your wine clubs. It just becomes this kind of extended sort of family arrangement. I'm kind of curious just to hear what that's like for you guys, what your thoughts are about that. So I was going to kick it back around the other way this time. Doug, let you talk a little bit about it, just kind of what it's like kind of having your own like winery family, even when it's for all the people who are involved.
Yeah, I mean, it is in many ways like a family. I mean, all of my employees are on a first name basis with my parents, and my father helps me with the bookkeeping and accounting, and a lot of times he's who's filling out everybody's paychecks. So, whether it's getting a paycheck, or I had a thing on the disc break about a week ago, and we needed to replace to keep the disc actually on straight. And, I hadn't done it before. Bob had, so Bob showed me and Tim and George how to do it. And, without like that previous experience, sometimes we would be watching more YouTube videos, trying to figure out how to do things. And so it's, whether it's just some simple bookkeeping stuff or guidance with things that are, farming related where he has experience, he's very involved with what we're doing. He may only be at the winery 1 or 2 days a month, but if anybody had an issue and couldn't reach me, they would call them right away. I mean, it's very, very much so like a small group family. And I think, my parents included their, like when we work an event, sometimes they help. And it makes a difference, to go from 8 or 10 folks to 12. So, we're happy to have them for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always struck with y'all because it's like, I mean, many of the people I think I met the first year, second year I met you, like your buddies, your friends, and people you brought into the business. Most of them have still been with you like since then. It's been, I feel like it's like when I look around at, and you guys are just one of these where it's, you guys almost have your own family of friends that you have sort of created this place just because of what you started with the winery.
Yeah. Well, I went to business school and was probably fortunate to study management and some things like that. And I think I just took the attitude that like nobody really knew that much about wine in Texas. And so, sales and marketing, maybe that's another story, but with respect to production, myself included, we're learning from the ground up. And I had a lot of people in this industry from other parts of the world who seem to know what they were doing tell me, you'll learn wine and you can teach people wine, but you have a hard time, finding people you can trust. And ultimately, we had a few people that were just kind of in the same spot as me in life where they were figuring out what they wanted to do. And I was fortunate to have a strong enough relationship, and the timing was right where, 10 years ago, it seemed like a crazy idea for a kid to move out of Austin out to the hill country to join the wine industry. And now there's like, people talk about it like it's a normal thing. So, so, it's different now. I almost feel like you could maybe hire people and things would be different. But 10 years ago, it really felt like, and I mean, even today, when we're harvesting grapes, hand picking vineyards here in the hill country, it's a lot of family and friends. And a lot of those people that show up regularly when we're harvesting fruit, we take care of at the tasting room and during events and stuff. And I mean, I've been working events in Austin when a volunteer who shows up regular shows up. I'm like, hey, here's the coolest guy at the bar tonight. This is our best volunteer. And half the people at the bar are like, yeah, you might want to come volunteer. And most of them won't show up, but we do everything we can to get in there.
Still, everything's a recruiting opportunity. So
absolutely. And at the end of the day, wine's about community. I mean, I can't count how many times my parents and my employees and I have all packed into the little house on the property that I live in and had dinner and talked about wine and food, and maybe not even in like a overly technical or academic way or anything, but just sit down and enjoy it. And we kind of developed a little bit of a culture around that I think everybody really likes and wants to see grow and be a part of.
Cool. Susan, what about you? I mean, with where you guys are, how has that expanded with family and your sort of extended winery family?
Well, just like everybody's story, it's interesting. My husband's at the vineyard tonight mowing because we have an event out there this weekend. And so he works all day at his insurance job, and then he's out there on a tractor. I don't think he thought he was going to be doing that at 69, but kill us, it's going to keep us young. So we just keep plugging along. And our youngest daughter, we have 4 children. Our youngest daughter, Jessica, is the tasting room manager. And our oldest daughter, Amber, does all the T-shirts and the hats and all that kind of stuff, the glasses and all that. So the 2 boys in the middle, Cody worked with us for a while. He's in Austin. And the other son is in Okinawa, Japan. So kind of spread out. But our team, I learned a long time ago working with teams that, the experience that they have working with you is just as important as the experience that your customers have. They need to have a good experience, and they need to feel loved and wanted and have fun at what they're doing. And I know y'all know better than I that not every day is fun, but it's what you make it, and we try to make it fun for them. We have not lost an employee since we started, and we just try to make it fun, and we try to invite them for, you know, barrel tastings. And when we had COVID, they all worked in the vineyard, and you know, we just try to make them like family, and it's worked out well so far. We're pretty young. So we're not at 3 years yet. We're 2.5 years in, so we'll see how it goes.
That's awesome. What about you guys, Weston, Steve?
Well, we've got team members that's been with us from the get-go. Our wine club manager has been with us for going on now 8 years. And I've got our manager in Fredericksburg has been with us for 6 years. And I've got a wholesale person that's out beating the streets every day. She's been with us for 6-7 years. And others have been with us for a long time. So they're basically family members. You know, I treat them that way. They're going to get their butt chewed just like my kids do. So, you know, I don't treat anybody any different. It's if you're treated like family, you know, if you're family, you get treated that way. But we pretty much, we love them, and couldn't do it without them, because they are awesome people and amazing people, actually, because y'all know what it's like on weekends in Fredericksburg. I mean, you can run through the ringer. And,
yeah. No,
actually, my wife has a cousin that works with us. She drives from Victoria every weekend, has for the last 4 or 5 years, every weekend for 52 weeks out of the year. She doesn't ever take a break, and she drives and works tasting room every weekend. So a lot of that goes on. You know, we've got actually kin folks that's intermingled in all this, cousins and stuff that have come and gone. A lot of people have come and gone, but just because they don't want to go where we're going, they don't want to work as hard as we do. We work 7 days a week, 17, 18-hour days. And I mean, I'm 64 years old, and I figure if I can do it, a 30-year-old ought to be able to. So, you know, we just do that. And if they can't keep up, then they feel like they need to go on and do something else. I'm game. I'm for it. So we ranch too. You know, we've got over 3,000 acres. We ranch. We're taking over my dad's operation, and Weston and I basically do that, plus all this other stuff we got going on too. So we've got wear lots of hats. Everybody, my family members, my kids wear lots of hats. They jump in and out, and a lot of our team members do too. So we expect a lot out of them, and we get a lot out of them, and really blessed because of it. They're family members. They're just like part of the family. So.
Yeah, so you guys have covered a lot of ground. Sounds like I didn't even know you had that much of a ranching operation. So that's, I mean, I just see the tasting rooms and the projects, and that's impressive.
Four tasting rooms. We have actually about 8 offices now that we're working out of. So I've got 8 managers, 8 different places, and secretaries, bookkeepers in every location. And you know, my wife, Sally, she's the main bookkeeper over all of it. And she's kind of getting tired of that and wanting a break, but I don't see that coming anytime soon. But we're trying. But anyway,
we're taking it like go with the wine club thing. I mean, we've had club members that have been with us from day one, and they've grown with our wine. They've grown their palate. You know, we started this deal. We were sweet wine. We've grown our portfolio to be able to carry any wine drinker throughout. Doesn't matter if you've been drinking wine your whole life or you just started today. And we've had club members that they've been club members since 6 months in. He came to me almost 3 years ago and said, I'm ready for a change of pace. I think I want to come to work and learn how to make wine. I said, are you sure? You know, we were friends, have been club members. We've known them for years. Great people. I said, are you sure? He goes, I'm sure. I want to do it. I said, well, you know, I can be hard to work for. He goes, I know you well enough to know. And he'll be here 3 years in February. He's been under he's my right-hand man, and making him a heck of a winemaker. He's an awesome guy. He loves wine. I think that's what really makes it. You know, I started this when we started, and I met Savannah, and I started helping on weekends. I had no clue. I have no formal education in any of this. It was a learn as we go process. And you know, I was taught, and it's been instilled in me my whole life, that if you're going to do something, you better do it well, and you better do it right. So we're really proud of our program that we built, especially on our Texas wines, on our dries. You know, we've gone from not winning any medals in these competitions to we started winning bronze and silver, and now we're winning golds and double golds and top of class. So I think that says something for our operation. Makes me proud. I know that. And it's just a really awesome experience because, like I say, I have no formal education. I've got a school from hard knocks, so that's my education. And I grew up in agriculture, obviously. It's really awesome, and you know, to watch our club members too that have grown with us, just to see their palates change and to see those customers change. And you know, we've been able to carry them through and keep them because we do make all different styles of wine. So it's an awesome experience. We were joking about this on the way over here. Was running tractor shredding, and Steve goes, "Oh, by the way, at 6 o'clock, we've got a Zoom meeting to do." I said, "Really?" Yeah, so that's the first time I've heard about it. So we'll go do it and make it happen. But you
These
just
things are always easier. They're always easier when you don't have to think about it. You just show up. So
I had to learn with this family to fly by the seat of your pants, and almost 10 years ago now, that didn't work for me. So I learned to mellow out a little bit, and we all get along now. I told Steve, well, on the way over here, I said, you know, it's only taken us 9 years to get to this point. So we hadn't killed one another yet. There might have been a time or two in year 2 and 3 that might have wanted to happen, but we worked through it because we're family. And you know, we're now raising our kids in it. Now we've got a fixing to be 13-year-old and 8-year-old, and they both love it, and they're taking a passion for it. And Red, our son, learned to walk in the winery. So awesome. He's been around his whole life, and it's second nature to him. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think about this business. It is like one thing that makes it such, you know, like it's such a good fit with being a family business is that you can bring your kids into it. You can bring, you know, your cousins into it. You can bring all these different family members into it because there's so many parts of it, right? Like I've got family that's involved in working the tasting room. I got family that's helping on the farming side. I've had, you know, my kids, they come and go out of different parts of this over the time that they've been growing up. Mine are now 19, 15, and 10. And then, you know, like my sister has 2 teenagers of her own, and the fact is all 5 of them get involved kind of where they fit, right, at their age and what they want to do. You know, and so, but for them, it's like they think of a lot of the staff members that have been around all these years as just part of their own family. Like they don't, obviously they do know there's a distinction, but at the same time, I mean, it's the people they see every day. It's, you know, they're sitting around at work, they're working with them, they're out in the vineyard with them.
Exactly.
It's been an amazing experience. And I got to say too, I mean, the crazy part is as you get like further into this and you spend more time, it's not that often that I go to a winery now and there's not somebody who was working at my place, like whether it was somebody who worked for us or it was somebody who co-opted our place or somebody that we leaned on to get started, you know, because it's like that has been the nature of the business is that, you know, I didn't come in this knowing how to make wine, and neither my parents didn't come in knowing how to grow. So they learned it from Bob Oberhelman or from Jim Comas or from Neil Newsom, and I ended up learning winemaking from people like Bill Blackman and others who were willing to kind of open up and just talk about, you know, what they learned trying to make wine in Texas. So yeah, it's amazing because it's like the industry does have a real family quality to it because most of us don't have much interest in trying to hide much and rather just learn and share. So, I mean, it's great. I love that my kids, I love that my family and my staff are kind of in that world where it's rarely a hard feeling if somebody just like moving from one winery to the next, because it's great. They kind of bring something to each new place they go. So we had a question just about a funny story that you have about working with family in a winery. And I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to dive in here, because sometimes these can be, embarrassing. So if you need to change the names of, of anybody for the purposes, that's all good. So anybody want to dive in, honestly, if they got one that they want to share? Anyone?
I mean, I got too many to count probably. I mean, a lot of times it's more like something that I didn't really think was funny at the time, that now in hindsight is pretty funny. We got a pretty sweet deal on some recycled asphalt to build our road. And my dad, we have our own road grader. We had a neighbor that had a roller we could borrow. So naturally, we got to do it all ourselves. And my dad at the time was still working. He's retired now, but he was a veterinarian and a busy guy. And so naturally, he had to come out on a Saturday, and we had just opened, and George Burns was bringing limo tours out and stuff. And they started jumping dump trucks of asphalt just right in the middle of the road where the limos were driving. And then my dad's out there on the road grader trying to direct traffic and get cars in and out of the taste. Like maybe one of the first weekends we were open. It's just a mess, and I'm like sitting there like kind of stressing out about it. And then my mom drove by on a steamroller. And I just like the humor hit me, it was just like, yeah, you can't get upset about this. Just try and enjoy it, go make a joke out of the people getting stuck behind my dad on a road grader or whatever. And you got to roll with it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I have a funny one about the tasting room. So our tasting room is located right next to Pedernales Veterinary Center, which is great. We're really close to Fredericksburg, but it was during the week, thank goodness. So it wasn't really crowded, but most of what we do is out on our back deck. It's really a pretty hill country view out there. And one of the customers came in and said, next door, they have a chainsaw and they're like cutting up dead deer. So chronic wasting disease deer, and they were dismembering deer next door for all to see with a chainsaw. And they're like, well, that's not really very palatable. It's like, okay. So you never know.
You never know. Yeah, I say that comes with like hill country. I do remember an experience once having to figure out how to make a proper burial for a neighbor who had a llama, but didn't know how in the world you bury something the size of a llama. So we wound up creating a proper place for the neighbor llama. But yeah, the weird things I never thought I would be doing when I was like, in college and imagining my career paths, that wasn't on it at all. So as I'm sure watching your mom on a steamroller probably wasn't in yours either, Doug. So yeah.
Not what I imagined I would have been doing a couple years out of college. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, one of the stories I can think of is I remember like a few years into the business, we had a big family reunion. Basically we had a big family group that was all there. Like all of our California family came out, and it had been a busy day. We had folks in the tasting room all day, but we also had a lot of the staff with us too. And Doug knows the person I'm talking about. But we had our vineyard manager, our vineyard supervisor for about 10 years is a gentleman named Antonio, and he's like rest in peace. He passed just a couple of years ago, but Antonio was there for this party too. And at some point, he probably had a couple too many, but we had like a good we're gonna get together the big family picture. So it's like all of my uncles and my parents and the kids and all of the extended family in there. And just as somebody's about to snap the picture, Antonio comes like diving in to the bottom of the picture and like kind of half tackles my one of my kids, and puts himself into the picture. And it turns out to be one of the funniest pictures we've ever had of the entire family. And I'm so grateful, honestly, after the fact that we actually have this picture with Antonio in it, because honestly, my kids grew up just thinking of Antonio as just, again, part of the family. But at the time it was like all of the rest of my family was like, what the hell business are you guys in? Just like when they were watching the whole scene that is the winery life. So Yeah, my kids still talk about that. Like my eldest in particular, who like got tackled by my slightly inebriated vineyard supervisor. Yeah, it took him a while to process all that. So, what about you guys, Weston, Steve? What do you guys got any good stories from family in the business?
I don't know if they're good or not. Some knockdown dragouts every now and then. We've managed through them. We're all kind of serious. We don't all joke around and laugh a whole lot. We probably should a lot more, but we're all business, because at the end of the day, this is how we make our living. So
for sure,
I'm sure there's some stories that we could look back on and talk about, but nothing that comes to mind at the moment.
One of the
Steve might
ones
have one.
on how when Weston and Savannah met for the first time, we've had a wedding here.
Yeah.
They had been out, of course, all night partying a little bit, and came in and for the wedding, and after the wedding they were drinking wine. And Weston broke a glass on the bar, broke it, and Savannah happened to be behind the bar working, and cleaned the mess up and looked at him. I'm gonna have to get you a sippy cup. You look like you're old enough you'll be able to drink. So
This is how Savannah and I met.
so that's the first time they met. So from that moment on, I guess she's been telling him he needs a sippy cup or something.
But I was the best man at a wedding, my best friend, and he got married here, and that's how I met Savannah. And then we started dating, and then I started helping here in the evenings and on the weekends, and I got the bug for it there. And then I started here in January of 2012. Sold my business that I had at the time, which was had a diesel mechanic business. We were working on anything from light to heavy equipment. I had a partner on that, and then this was when this business was taking off and growing, and kind of had the opportunity with, if you want to be a part, here's your opportunity now. Could use you. It's growing. We need some more help, and that's how I got started here. And then Steve was like, "All right, here it is. Figure out how to make wine." And I thought, "Oh boy, I have no clue how to do any of this.
Yeah.
Never grown a grapevine, never pruned a grapevine, never been in a winery." So, and then from there, we had some great mentors along the way. Tim Drake's probably been one of the biggest helps to me. Helped us really get our programs really kicked off and going through some consulting. I love Tim and Spring. They're great people. And it's just been, but like I say, a lot of it's been just flat out, figure it out. That didn't work. Let's try something else. And I think now our portfolio kind of proves that we've somewhat figured it out. I won't say that we've figured it out totally, because every year is totally different. So,
well, I mean,
new day.
And every day is a new day, and and we're fortunate with the people that we have in place. I've got 5 guys that work here with me. That we take care of the vineyards here. We do all the production. We do right here at the Ben Lomita location is where we do everything. This is our main hub for all of our tasting rooms. We do all of our production here, all of our bottling, all of our wholesale orders leave from here. So, I mean, there's a lot of business that goes on here, and we couldn't do it without the guys that work with me on a daily basis, and all the ladies that are in the office here, because this is the heart of the machine right now. So,
like you said earlier, there's lots of business within this business. There's about 5 businesses within this business. So you can do several different things.
No, I mean, like I got three kids, and obviously like 2 nieces, and I have no doubt that if all 5 of them find themselves wanting to be in the wine business, there are plenty of parts of this business for them to like kind of move into. It is one of the beauties of it, and I think one of the cool parts about it too is that you can wear out on this stuff and just not have the energy for it anymore, but you're never going to be in a spot where you can't keep every vintage you got more to do and more to learn, and inevitably a new challenge too that you weren't ready for. I mean, whatever the hell you thought you learned the last time. So
I've been fortunate that each one of my kids have found their niche, and they're good at it. Every one of them that they fell into, they're good at it. And I've been amazed just to watch them grow into where they are now. And just develop leadership and becoming a leader and like a business owner. So they're growing into it, stepping into it. And now I'm getting to watch my grandkids do it.
Yeah. Well, y'all, we got
three grandsons.
Yeah. We got about a minute here, and Lindsay's going to jump back on. Anybody have any last parting words they want to say before Lindsay sort of walks us out?
Drink wine.
Drink wine.
Thanks for supporting family wineries.
I was about to say, I just want to tell everybody, like, this is, I know everybody's had an existentially challenging year for 2020, but honestly, it's been a much better year than I could have ever imagined, just because of the customers of this business. It's been the folks that have continued to like, you know, to go through the wine club, to meet us wherever we could, whether it's at the curbside or online or virtual events. I appreciate it because people have rolled with us, and it's been awesome. So
yeah, we have jumped through lots of hoops, no doubt.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I could not agree more. You know, one of the reasons that I love working for Texas Hill Country Wineries is really this right here, is like having the opportunity to actually help, you know, small family wineries, large family wineries, just getting to be a part of y'all's business. And so tonight was really fun for me to get to hear your stories and just to hear more about what it takes to do all that you guys do. And so I just want to thank you guys. This was great. And I couldn't agree more. The consumers that we've had, the Texas wine lovers and fans, have just been fantastic throughout this, throughout all of 2020 and all the ups and downs with the winery tasting rooms closing and reopening and all the craziness. You know, we have people reaching out to myself in January every day, wondering, you know, how can we still support wineries from home? Where can we buy bottles? Who's doing curbside delivery? And so it's been really great to see all of the Texas wine fans and families rally together. So.
And by the way, Lindsay, congratulations to you on your next family step. So.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's this is a really exciting season. In 2 weeks, it's my wedding, so I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's,
finally, it's been postponed, hasn't it? Time or two.
Yes. Yeah, it has been. Yeah, the wedding was supposed to be in April, and so we've been dating for 10 years, so it's been a long time coming. So we're really excited.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. After 10 years, I think that we're pretty solid, but we'll see.
Yep.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody again for joining us tonight, whether you watched us live or you're watching us later. And then just again, a huge thank you to all of my winery friends here, David and Doug, Weston and Steve, and Susan, for celebrating Texas Wine Month and sharing their Texas wine story with us. We just really appreciate it. And I hope that everybody will join us back here on Thursday, November 19th. We've got a whole new group of wineries joining us. The topic is going to be Thanksgiving wine pairings, and so it should be perfect for the holidays. But in the meantime, I just wanted to remind everybody to visit the Texas Wine Trail website and check out our social pages. We've got info on tasting rooms being open in the Hill Country, COVID protocols, how to support wineries from home. Texas Wine Month passport tickets are on sale still. That event goes on till the 31st. And Christmas Wine Affair tickets, believe it or not, went on sale yesterday. We're already gearing up for Christmas. So tickets for that are on sale now. And we hope to see you guys in the Hill Country. And until then, we remind you to sip and stay safe, Texas. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.